So this one is another video about Google Optimize, and in this one, instead of doing an A/B test, we're going to look at how you can use a bit of personalization depending on whether the visitor is a new visitor to your site or a returning visitor. So let's go ahead and have a look at how to do that.
Okay, so we're logged into Google Optimize and we're going to go ahead and create a new experience. So with this one, let's just call this homepage new visitor experience. And the URL, we're basically going to just do the homepage of my website. And instead of A/B test, which is what we looked at in part 25, I think it was, we are going to go ahead and do a personalization experience instead. So let's go ahead and click create. Okay, so we now need to look through and we need to add targeting rules, we need to make the site changes, link to analytics, which we've already done, because if you've done that the first time that you set everything up, then that will be linked. And then once we've done that, we need to start it. So really it's just setting the targeting rules and then making the site changes. What do we want it to look like? So right in the middle here, we've got targeting and site changes. So let's go ahead and actually look at the audience targeting rules first. So if we click on that, we can see that we've got all these different types of rules that we can use. Now, we're not going to get into the advanced ones here, but you can see you could do things using JavaScript, using cookies, data layer variables, all those kinds of things. That's a little bit more advanced for this series, so we're going to leave those. But what we're going to do is just kind of look through and talk through some of these. So if you're doing Google Ads, you could use and target specific accounts or campaigns or ad groups and keywords. So you could use your Google Ads account and kind of tie it in and determine that, okay, well, my audience is going to be based on people that are shown a specific ad, that kind of thing. Now, the UTM parameter, we looked at the campaign URL builder in part 19 of this series, and in that we looked at how we can build a link that when someone clicks on, it then passes through a series of parameters, and we can look in the campaign area in Google Analytics. So we could actually target the visitors based on a specific parameter. So if I click on that, we can see that we're saying, okay, well, if the UTM campaign equals, and then whatever that final part of the URL is that's passed through, then we're going to go ahead and show them a specific experience. So that could be very useful if you are setting something up and doing some kind of campaign and you want the visitors that come from that campaign to see something specific, then we can go ahead and show them that. All right, so let's go back. Device category. So we can set up to say, okay, well, if the device category equals something specific, desktop, mobile, or tablet, then we want to go ahead and show them this specific experience. We want to make some changes, and that's what somebody sees on a desktop versus somebody seeing something different on a mobile device. We're going to come back to behavior because that's the one we're going to use. We can also target visitors from a specific city or a metro area, a region, or a country. So it could be that you have things in different languages, or maybe you have a campaign that's very specific for people from a specific country or even a specific city. Maybe something's going on. So you can use the geography for that. And then finally, we can use technology. So we could target the visitors based on a specific device that they're using, an iPhone versus an Android device, or a specific browser or operating system. So there's quite a lot of different rule types we can use. We're going to go ahead and we are going to use behavior. Now, what I want to do is show something specific to new visitors, and returning visitors will just see the regular page. So what we can do is we can say, okay, well, the time since the first arrival is less than 10 seconds. So we can see there that this time since first arrival is the time that's passed since the Google Analytics cookie was created. So if I've been to somebody's website multiple times, that Google Analytics cookie would have been created a while ago. So setting it to say it's less than 10 seconds is likely, not always, but likely going to mean that it's a new visitor. Now, we can have visitors that have cookies disabled, so we're not actually able to track things, but for the most part, you're likely to be able to get that. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add. And there we can see there's our page targeting. Now our audience targeting right here. Now we could add other rules if we wanted to, but in this instance, that's the only thing that I want is just to say new visitors versus older visitors or recurring. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make the site changes. So I'm going to click Edit here. And this is now going to open up the URL, or for me, this is the home page. So we've opened up that specific URL. And we've kind of got an overlay on top of it in terms of how we can actually edit stuff. Now, if I go ahead and I click here, I want to remove the search area. So I can select it and then I can click Edit Element and I can remove it. We can see there's the search icon is still left, so I'm going to edit that and let's go ahead and remove that as well. Now, I want to change this slightly and I want to show something about this Google Analytics campaign. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change the wording. Instead of saying welcome, I'm going to go ahead and edit the HTML. And I'm just going to go ahead and put in what I want to show instead. So I'm going to say Google Analytics series and we'll go ahead and apply that. So we can see immediately that's changed. Now I am going to go ahead and get rid of this. Remove that, and let's go ahead and remove this. So what we're doing here is we're not changing the web page at all itself. We are changing the elements that will be displayed, but we're not changing the underlying code of our own website. So I'm going to go ahead and change the HTML. And let's do a paragraph break. So there we go. Now these changes are fairly straightforward. If you're wanting to put in text, then that's fine. You can do that and you can just separate those with paragraph breaks. So we're basically just putting a less than P and then greater than sign to indicate a paragraph break. I'm going to go ahead and apply. So now we can see we've started to put in a little bit. And what we can do is we can add in pieces by editing elements. We can add in new elements. So we can do a lot with this. We could put in images, we could do all kinds of things. I just want to basically show at the top that, hey, I've got a Google Analytics series going on. So we make all of our changes and then we go ahead and we save it. Now we can also change and say, okay, well, let's optimize it for an iPhone 7. So when we do that, it will switch and say, okay, well, this is what it will look like on an iPhone 7. So maybe I want to tweak things, move things around a little bit so that it fits. So we can see there, it's not optimized very well, so I would tweak it and change it. Once we're done, we go ahead and we click Finished. So then once we're done and we've made all of our changes, we've set the page targeting, we've set the audience targeting, the last thing is we just go ahead and click Start, and we're starting the personalization. We go ahead and click that. So that's it. That's how you can set up for personalization. Again, remember that audience targeting, that's really important. You could do so many different things without using all of the different options in terms of doing it based on the browser or the device or the operating system or the location that somebody's at, or using the UTM parameters. There's so much in terms of the different ways that we could customize this. Now, the personalization experience can just keep on running. We can see that there's no end date. Now the difference with that and the A/B test, the A/B test has to have an end date. You cannot continue to run it, and because the idea for that is that you're doing some testing and then you're going to pick the one that's kind of the winner or the one that performs the best. With this, you could have this continually run because you always want new visitors to have a slightly different experience to the returning visitors. So That will now run until I stop it. And again, I'm not testing to see which is performing better. I'm saying you as a new user, visitor, you get this experience, and you as a returning visitor get this experience.
Hi, I'm Megan Walker. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and that you learned something from it. If you don't want to miss out on any other content, you can go ahead and click on my face below to subscribe. And if you want to watch the next video, you can do that by clicking over here and go ahead and get started. Thanks again.